Dark streets, empty porches, windows where curtains sway, even when no one is home. Across America, there are towns that look ordinary at first glance. Quiet, affordable, sometimes even charming. But when night falls, the silence grows heavy. The air feels colder, and the past begins to stir. And these aren't just ghost stories whispered around campfires. These are places where history never let go. Towns where tragedy soaked into the soil, where laughter turned to screams, and where shadows never fully fade. Yet, people still live there. Families still move in. Children still play in yards where whispers drift from the trees. Some came for the cheap cost of living, some for the small town peace. But what they often discover is that the price of living here is something more than money. It's the sound of footsteps following you on an empty street. It's the flicker of lights when no switch has been touched. It's waking in the dead of night to the weight of eyes you cannot see. Across old battlefields, abandoned mines, river towns, and crumbling Victorian streets, America hides communities where the living and the dead share the same space. These towns look normal on the surface, but look closer and you'll find the cracks. Would you dare call one of these haunted towns home? Salem, Massachusetts, the town of witches. Founded in 1626, Salem is a town the world will never forget. In 1692, fear and suspicion turned neighbors against one another during the infamous witch trials. 19 innocent people were executed and many more imprisoned, leaving shadows that never fully lifted. Today, cafes bustle and tourists roam, but if you pause, the past seems to breathe just beneath the surface. Cobblestone streets, colonial homes, and the weight of history make every step feel charged with stories that refuse to fade. Legends say shadowy figures cross the town green, cold drafts drift through old homes, and whispers rise from long-forgotten graveyards. Some claim the spirits of the accused still wander, peering from dimly lit windows or slipping through narrow alleys. Colonial houses, churches, and Gallows Hill serve as quiet reminders of a darker time. Step carefully, and centuries of fear and sorrow press down in sudden shivers. Picture moonlight spilling across uneven cobblestones, candles flickering in old windows, and a whisper drifting from an empty alley, enough to make you glance over your shoulder. In Salem, the past isn't done with you yet, and what you'll see around the next corner might change everything you think you know about this town. Waverly Hills Sanatorium, Kentucky's Tower of Shadows. Built in 1910 and abandoned by the 1960s, Waverly Hills stands perched atop a hill outside Louisville. Its Gothic halls and endless corridors cloaked in a darkness that feels almost alive. Once a hospital for tuberculosis patients, it was a place where treatments were experimental. Isolation was brutal, and thousands passed through its halls never to return. Over time, it became more than a hospital. It became a place where sorrow and fear seeped into every brick. Locals still whisper about the infamous body chute, a hidden tunnel once used to discreetly remove the dead, now alive with eerie shadows and sudden cold drafts. Visitors tell of footsteps echoing in empty wards, faint whispers that vanish when confronted, and fleeting figures glimpsed at the far ends of long, dark corridors. What remains today are rusted gurneys, peeling paint, and hallways that stretch on forever, heavy with untold stories of suffering and silence. On nights when the moonlight filters through cracked windows, the air turns damp and icy. A sudden creak sounds from above. As you step deeper into the sanatorium, you can't help but wonder what waits in the next corner, and which restless spirit might already be following close behind. Savannah, Georgia, the City of Shadows. Founded in 1733, Savannah is a city where beauty and darkness intertwine. Spanish moss drapes the streets, historic squares stand proud, and whispers linger long into the night. Its cobblestone paths, centuries-old homes, and grand public squares carry stories that refuse to be forgotten. The city's charm is undeniable, but beneath the lantern-lit streets and the cheerful chatter of tourists lies a presence that keeps the past alive. Locals speak in hushed tones of spirits wandering unseen, footsteps echoing through empty hallways, and whispers that vanish the moment you turn to listen. Ghosts are said to drift through Forsyth Park at dusk, peer from shuttered windows, and silently follow those who wander along River Street. Some inns seem to hold more than memories, with apparitions appearing at the foot of beds and shadowy figures slipping through narrow alleys. What remains are abandoned courtyards, forgotten cemeteries, and narrow lanes that stretch deep into the dark, all bearing the weight of centuries. On certain nights, moonlight filters through the Spanish moss as lanterns flicker across empty squares. A cold gust brushes your neck, And though you think you've seen all Savannah has to offer, one quiet alley may still hide a secret, keeping its ghosts alive, waiting for those daring enough to follow. New Orleans, Louisiana, the city that never sleeps, even after death. Moonlight falls over wrought iron balconies in New Orleans, a city founded in 1718 where charm and mystery walk hand in hand. The French Quarter hums with life, yet just beyond the music and laughter, shadows tell older stories. Tragedy, ritual, and restless spirits have shaped these narrow alleys, leaving behind whispers that drift like smoke through the night. Locals speak of voodoo queens, restless vampires, and apparitions of long-gone residents who wander past cemeteries and haunted inns. Travelers claim their footsteps echo in alleyways that should be empty, while mysterious figures peer from windows shuttered for decades. What remains are ancient cemeteries, hidden courtyards, and crumbling mansions, each one preserving the weight of centuries. On certain nights, fog curls along the streets, and faint whispers ride the wind. Just when you think you understand New Orleans' charm, a sudden shadow or chilling sound reminds you its spirits are never far, waiting for the curious to discover them. St. Augustine, Florida, where time and spirits collide. Founded in 1565, St. Augustine is a place where cobblestone streets wind past centuries-old fortresses, and the sea breeze carries whispers of the past. Every stone seems to hold a story, and every shadow hints at something left behind. As the oldest city in the United States, it has seen explorers, pirates, soldiers, and settlers come and go, but some never truly left. Locals say its long history has woven a tapestry of restless spirits, waiting silently behind the walls of old homes, forts, and narrow streets. Ghostly figures are said to wander the Castillo de San Marcos at night. Visitors tell of unseen hands brushing against them, spectral shapes of colonial soldiers appearing in dimly lit alleys, and whispers that fill rooms long unoccupied. Some innkeepers report footsteps echoing through empty hallways and doors creaking open without reason. What remains are ancient fortresses, historic homes, and shadowed plazas, all preserving the weight of centuries past. When lantern light flickers on weathered bricks and the Atlantic wind carries faint voices through the fog, the city feels alive with secrets. You may think St. Augustine is only a historic gem, but in one quiet corner, a secret may still be waiting, centuries old, daring you to discover it. Jerome, Arizona, the town that refuses to die. Perched dramatically on the cliffs of Cleopatra Hill, Jerome looks down on the valley below with streets carved into stone and brick buildings weathered by time. Founded in 1876, it rose from copper mining and was built on ambition, greed, and resilience. Once it boomed with miners, merchants, and saloons alive with noise, but when the mines closed, decline set in. Today, only a small population remains, but visitors often feel the town itself is still watching, as though the spirits of miners, gamblers, and settlers never truly left. Stories linger of shadowy figures moving near abandoned saloons, of cold drafts sweeping through century-old homes, and of the faint strike of pickaxes or bursts of laughter echoing on empty streets. Some claim the ghosts of miners who died in the shafts still wander the hills, silently retracing the steps of their final days. What endures are the weathered storefronts, the crumbling hotels, and the narrow cliffside streets frozen in time, reminders of both fortune and misfortune. As sunset throws long shadows across the rocks and the wind whispers through broken windows, footsteps sometimes echo where no one walks. You may think you've seen all Jerome has to offer, but one hidden stairwell, or a darkened alley. Virginia City, Nevada, ghosts of the Wild West. Along wooden boardwalks that creak underfoot and past saloons frozen in time, Virginia City seems caught between the past and present. Founded in 1859, it once roared with miners chasing fortune, gamblers taking chances, and dreamers daring the Wild West. Today, the streets feel like a stage where history refuses to leave, and visitors often sense that the clamor of the town never truly ended. Phantom footsteps echo along the boardwalks. Swinging saloon doors move without wind, and faint laughter drifts from empty establishments. Legends persist of spirits, miners, gamblers, and early settlers who still wander the shadows, retracing old routines. Some claim fleeting glimpses of figures in shuttered windows, the soft notes of piano music echoing through abandoned halls or spectral cowboys wandering alleys long deserted. What remains are weathered storefronts, historic theaters, and crumbling hotels, all preserving the grit and glory of a bygone era. When moonlight glimmers off the wooden planks and a cold wind stirs dust across deserted streets, the distant clang of a ghostly bell seems almost real. You may think Virginia City is just a historic town, but one dark corner could reveal secrets that have waited over a century to be discovered. Bisbee, Arizona. Shadows beneath the mines. High on the hillside, Bisbee's colorful historic buildings cling to winding streets, whispering tales of fortune and tragedy. Founded in 1880, the town began as a bustling copper mining hub where lives were made and lost deep in the shafts below. Today, art galleries and cafes bring charm to the streets, but beneath the cheerful facades, history refuses to rest. Locals say the ghosts of miners, and perhaps those who met tragic fates underground, still wander the streets in abandoned tunnels. Visitors report sudden chills in historic homes, whispers echoing through old theaters, and shadows flitting across alleyways. Miners' spirits are said to roam the darkness of preserved shafts, retracing their final steps, while spectral figures appear silently in the windows of old boarding houses, watching passers-by with unseen eyes. What remains are weathered buildings, long-forgotten mine entrances, and cobblestone streets, all echoing with stories of ambition and peril. Lanterns flicker in quiet galleries, a cold wind sweeps down narrow streets, and the faint sound of tools striking rock seems to rise from the hills themselves. You may think Bisbee is just a charming town, but one shadowed alley or hidden stairwell might hold a secret that has waited decades for a curious soul to uncover. Deadwood, South Dakota. Spirits of the Wild West. Dust swirls along the historic streets of Deadwood, where saloons stand weathered and every corner echoes with tales of lawlessness. Founded in 1876 during the Black Hills Gold Rush, the town sprang to life with miners chasing fortune, outlaws seeking fame, an opportunity lurking around every corner. Today, tourists fill the streets and reenactments bring the past to life. Yet the restless energy of Deadwood's wild history still lingers. Shadowy figures sometimes appear along the boardwalks, and unexplained noises spill from centuries-old saloons, reminding visitors that the past is never truly gone. Legends tell of spirits, miners, gamblers, and gunfighters who roam freely, retracing the paths they walked in life. Some claim to glimpse famous outlaws flickering in candlelight or reflected in dusty mirrors. Cold drafts creep through historic hotels, and footsteps echo in hallways where no one walks. What remains are weathered wooden facades, historic bars, and long-abandoned storefronts, all silent witnesses to the town's chaotic past. At twilight, shadows stretch across the streets. The scent of old whiskey drifts through the air, and distant laughter seems to come from nowhere. You may think Deadwood is just history, but one hidden corner could reveal a secret that has been waiting over a century to be discovered. Eureka Springs, Arkansas, the Crescent Hotel. In the heart of winding cobblestone streets and Victorian architecture, Eureka Springs holds secrets that refuse to stay buried. Founded in 1879, the town exudes charm, elegance, and whispers of the past. Dominating its skyline, the Crescent Hotel, often called America's most haunted hotel, stands as a monument to centuries of energy. Once a luxury resort and later a controversial health spa, the building seems to carry the presence of guests who never truly checked out. Visitors speak of doors opening and closing on their own, eerie voices echoing through empty corridors, and shadowy figures glimpsed in mirrors. Some feel unseen hands brush past them or hear footsteps pacing behind them in rooms closed for decades. Paranormal enthusiasts claim fleeting figures and chilling sounds emanate from the walls themselves. What remains are ornate parlors, grand staircases, and guest rooms frozen in time, all reminders of the hotel's storied history and lingering mysteries. Lantern light flickers across marble floors, fog drifts through the Victorian gardens, and sudden chills hint that someone, or something, is watching. The Crescent Hotel feels alive in ways the living cannot explain, and one turn down a shadowed hallway could reveal a secret waiting for the bold enough to follow. Key West, Florida. Robert the Doll and haunted mansions. Beneath the sun-soaked streets and pastel facades of Key West, history and mystery intertwine. Founded in 1828, the town radiates tropical charm, yet behind its vibrant culture lies a darker side that refuses to stay hidden. Among its haunted legends is Robert the Doll, a seemingly innocent toy said to harbor a malevolent spirit. Locals and visitors alike warn that misfortune follows those who disrespect him, from strange accidents to inexplicable chills. Haunted mansions line the streets, each carrying stories of restless spirits and unexplained occurrences. Doors creak without wind, cold drafts sweep through locked rooms, and shadowy figures linger in candlelit corners. Some say the energy is playful yet sinister, teasing those who venture too close to the past. What remains are weathered quays, secret passageways, and grand tropical estates, silent witnesses to centuries of life and lingering spirits. Moonlight sparkles on the harbor. Footsteps drift along cobblestone streets, and faint laughter, or whispers, rides the balmy air. In Key West, the sun may shine bright, but shadows are never far behind. And some secrets might just follow you home. San Antonio, Texas. Haunted missions and battlefields. Amid dusty battlefields and historic missions, San Antonio hums with centuries of history that refuse to stay buried. Founded in 1718, the city stretches from Spanish missions to plazas where legendary battles once shaped the frontier. Beneath its lively streets and festive squares lies a darker layer, restless spirits lingering where history left its mark. The missions, once centers of faith and survival, are said to hold more than relics. Shadows drift through cloisters and whispers echo in empty chapels. Visitors tell of apparitions of soldiers pacing old battlefields, of cries rising from skirmishes long past. Some swear they see spirits of mission inhabitants gliding silently through candlelit corridors, while others feel sudden chills or the brush of a presence along quiet trails. What remains are weathered stone walls, worn wooden doors, and hidden alcoves that hold centuries of unfinished stories. At dusk, wind rustles through olive trees at Mission San Jose, and faint footsteps echo where no one walks. In San Antonio, history doesn't just whisper. It watches, waits, and sometimes reaches out, leaving the bold to wonder what comes next. Charleston, South Carolina. Historic hauntings in old homes. Along cobblestone streets lined with grand colonial homes, Charleston whispers stories that refuse to stay buried. Founded in 1670, the city carries centuries of history, where mansions, churches, and hidden alleyways hold secrets of love, loss, and lingering spirits. Beyond the charm of horse-drawn carriages and Spanish moss, some residents never truly left, their presence still felt in quiet corners. Visitors speak of flickering candlelight in empty windows, cold drafts sweeping through sealed rooms, and shadowy figures appearing in portraits or stairwells. Some hear whispers calling their names, or the faint creak of a rocking chair in the dead of night. What remains are weathered bricks, intricate ironwork, and hidden courtyards, silent witnesses to lives that shaped the city, and to those who linger beyond it. Moonlight glints on wrought iron balconies. Footsteps echo softly across the streets, and a faint sigh drifts from a nearby mansion. Charleston's ghosts are patient, watching from the corners, waiting to see who notices, and who dares step closer. Fall River, Massachusetts. Lizzie Borden's hometown. In the quiet streets of Fall River, shadows seem to linger longer than they should, whispering tales of a dark past. Founded in the 1670s, the town is forever marked by one chilling story: Lizzie Borden. In 1892, a brutal double murder shook the community, leaving behind a house and a legacy steeped in speculation and rumor. Today, Fall River appears peaceful, but the echoes of that infamous day refuse to fade. Locals recount unexplained noises in the Borden house, footsteps echoing through empty rooms, and fleeting glimpses of figures behind curtained windows. Some visitors swear they hear whispers of long-ago arguments or the faint voice of someone calling for justice. What remains are Victorian homes with peeling paint, narrow alleyways, and the Borden residence itself, silent witnesses to a past that won't let go. Moonlight casts long shadows over cobblestone streets. The wind carries faint clatters of footsteps, and doors creak with no one nearby. In Fall River, the past isn't silent, it waits, and those who linger too long often wonder what will reveal itself next. Bodie, California. Frozen in time mining town. High in the Sierra Nevada, Bodie sits suspended between past and present, its deserted streets and weathered wooden buildings whispering tales of lives long gone. Founded in 1859, the town thrived during the gold rush, but today its avenues are silent and structures stand in eerie perfection, as if the residents might return at any moment. Wander too long and the stillness carries a strange weight, as though the town itself is watching. Visitors often report sudden chill, doors creaking in empty structures, and fleeting shadows glimpsed through broken windows. Some claim to hear the faint clatter of tools or the distant laughter of miners who never left, replaying their lives in the quiet desert. What remains are weather-beaten storefronts, creaking homes, and abandoned saloons, all frozen in time and preserving both history and mystery. Moonlight spills across cracked sidewalks, wind stirs loose shingles, and every step echoes through the empty streets. Bodie doesn't just tell its story, it waits, curious to see who will notice, and who might stumble across a secret best left buried. Abilene, Kansas, haunted cowboy history. Along old western streets lined with weathered storefronts and rowdy saloons, Abilene feels alive with memories that refuse to fade. Founded in 1857 as the bustling terminus of the Chisholm Trail, the town once teemed with cowboys, lawmen, and the occasional outlaw. Today, its streets are quiet, yet locals insist the echoes of its Wild West past still linger. Shadows cling to corners where gunfights erupted, and the wind carries the distant clatter of spurred boots across empty sidewalks. Visitors report ghostly figures pacing wooden boardwalks, laughter and shouting spilling from abandoned saloons, and shadowy riders glimpsed along the outskirts of town. Some claim the spirits of long-departed cowboys still roam the streets, ensuring that the law, or chaos, never truly leaves. What remains are creaking barns, empty saloons, and weathered storefronts that preserve the town's rugged history, while the stories of its restless residents linger in alleys and corners. Moonlight glints off rusted spurs, doors creak in the wind, and every echo might be a cowboy returning for one last ride. In Abilene, the past is never quiet, and the next shadow may reveal a story you weren't expecting. Portsmouth, New Hampshire, colonial-era hauntings. Along the cobblestone streets of Portsmouth, history seems to breathe through every stone and shuttered window. Founded in 1623, the city was once a thriving port, where merchants, sailors, and families came and went, but some residents never truly left. Visitors often feel a strange weight in the old neighborhoods, as if the past is watching quietly, waiting for someone to notice. Locals recount flickering candlelight in shuttered windows, footsteps echoing through empty alleyways, and ghostly figures glimpsed in historic taverns. Some swear the spirits of sailors lost at sea and townsfolk long gone still wander the docks and old stone homes, quietly replaying their lives. What remains are colonial houses, abandoned warehouses, and centuries-old churches, all preserving the town's history while keeping its mysteries alive. Moonlight reflects on the harbor, fog curls along cobblestones, and faint voices ride the wind. Portsmouth doesn't just remember its past, it watches it, waiting to reveal the next secret, if you dare to look closely enough. Estes Park, Colorado, home to the Stanley Hotel. Moonlight drapes the Stanley Hotel in a silver glow, and the Rockies rise silently around it, framing a building that seems to breathe with secrets. Built in the early 1900s, the hotel's grand halls and shuttered wings hold whispers of the past, footsteps that echo where no one walks, doors that close on their own, and shadowy figures glimpsed in mirrors. Visitors often feel the presence of something unseen, watching silently from corners where elegance meets unease. Guests describe pianos playing softly in empty ballrooms, cold drafts sweeping through locked rooms, and the occasional hint that the hotel's original owners have never truly left. Dust-laden furniture, long unused guest rooms, and shuttered floors preserve its old-world charm, while hinting at restless spirits lurking in the shadows. Moonlight spills across the grand staircase. Chandeliers sway without reason, and every creak of the floor feels like a warning. In Estes Park, the mountains may hold beauty, but inside the Stanley Hotel, the past waits for its next visitor, and you might be the one to meet it. Hot Springs, Arkansas, haunted bathhouses and hotels. Steam rises from the thermal waters, curling through the streets of Hot Springs like ghostly fingers. Founded in 1807, the town was once a playground for the wealthy, famous for its lavish hotels and bustling bathhouses. Today, the elegance remains, but beneath the warm glow and polished facades, the past refuses to stay buried. Visitors often feel sudden chill, hear footsteps echoing where no one walks, and glimpse shadows moving among the deserted halls. Footsteps echo in empty corridor, doors swing open without warning, and faint whispers drift from unused spa rooms. Some swear shadowy figures of patrons, bathhouse workers, and long-gone residents linger, as if the town's glamorous history never truly left. What remains are historic bathhouses, deserted hotels, and cobblestone streets, all preserving the charm of Hot Springs while keeping its secrets alive. Moonlight glints off steamy windows, the scent of mineral waters hangs in the air, and every creak of the floorboard feels like someone watching. Hot Springs is a city of warmth and luxury, but beneath its beauty, the past waits quietly, ready to reveal the next ghostly tale. Cape May, New Jersey, Victorian ghosts. Salt-laced wind drifts along the oceanfront, carrying whispers from centuries past. Founded in the 1620s, Cape May is a seaside town of pastel Victorian houses and pristine beaches, where elegance meets an undercurrent of mystery. Beneath the postcard-perfect charm, the town seems alive with unseen footsteps, faint voices, and the lingering presence of lives long gone. Guests report echoes in empty parlors, doors opening without cause, and shadowy figures figures glancing from balconies or gliding along moonlit boardwalk. Some swear these glimpses are remnants of lives that once thrived here, refusing to fade completely into history. Victorian mansions, centuries-old inns, and historic cemeteries preserve Cape May's haunted legacy, each structure holding stories of love, loss, and interrupted lives. The ocean breeze carries faint laughter and sorrow. Lamplight flickers along cobblestone streets, and every creaking floorboard hints at secrets waiting to be discovered. In Cape May, beauty and eeriness entwine, leaving visitors to wonder, what will they encounter next? St. Louis, Missouri, haunted Lemp Mansion. Moonlight glints off the grand windows of the Lemp Mansion, casting long shadows across St. Louis streets. Founded in 1868, the home once echoed with laughter, opulence, and the successes of a prominent brewing family, but beneath the elegance lies a legacy of tragedy, untimely death, and secrets that refuse to rest. Today, the mansion serves as a restaurant and inn, yet the past lingers in every corridor, waiting to be noticed. Visitors speak of shadowy figures gliding through dimly lit halls, unexplained footsteps echoing in empty rooms, and furniture moving as if touched by unseen hands. Sudden chills, whispers that vanish when confronted, and fleeting glimpses of former family members staring from corners are common experiences. Ornate parlors, hidden stairways, and forgotten chambers preserve the memory of the Lemp family's triumphs and sorrows, creating a haunting that refuses to fade. Candlelight flickers across cracked mirrors, portraits watch silently from peeling walls, and the air feels charged, as if the mansion itself is breathing. Step carefully, because in the Lemp Mansion, every shadow could be more than it seems, and the next secret waits just beyond the doorway. Lawrence, Kansas, Civil War ghostly echoed. Fog drifts along the cobblestone streets of Lawrence, curling around old brick buildings as if carrying echoes of a violent past. Founded in 1854, the city bears the scars of conflict, from its turbulent beginnings to the tragic Quantrill's raid of 1863. Walking through its historic avenues, it's easy to feel hurried footsteps, distant gunfire, and hushed warnings lingering just beyond sight. Residents speak of shadowy figures moving past centuries-old homes, cold gusts brushing through empty rooms, and faint voices calling names long forgotten. Some claim the spirits of those lost in the raid still wander at night, retracing paths carved in fear and haste. Historic homes, old churches, and memorials stand as silent witnesses to lives disrupted, keeping untold stories alive. Evening fog drifts along streets, lanterns flicker in deserted windows, and the wind carries whispers from the past. In Lawrence, the shadows of the Civil War linger, and for those who listen, they hint at what comes next, a secret still waiting in silence. Harper's Ferry, West Virginia. Haunted Civil War history. Mist curls along the Potomac and Shenandoah rivers, wrapping Harper's Ferry in a quiet tension that feels alive. Founded in 1754, the town sits at the meeting point of waterways and history, forever marked by conflict and the echoes of war. Cobblestone streets and old brick buildings seem to hum with the footsteps of soldiers, spies, and townsfolk who never truly left. Visitors report glimpses of uniformed figures pacing deserted streets, doors creaking open with no one nearby, and the faint rattle of cannon fire echoing from empty forts. Some claim distant cries or footsteps along stone stairways lead down to the rivers, as if the past is replaying itself for those bold enough to watch. Old armories, Civil War cemeteries, and historic homes preserve the tension of battles long gone yet not forgotten. Twilight drapes the rivers in mist, lanterns sway in empty windows, and a cold breeze drifts through narrow alleys. In Harper's Ferry, history refuses to rest, and somewhere in the shadows, the next secret waits, ready to reveal itself to the curious. San Jose, California. The Winchester Mystery House. A chill drifts through the twisting halls of the Winchester Mystery House, where staircases climb to nowhere and doors open into walls. Founded in 1777, San Jose is home to the sprawling, enigmatic mansion built continuously for 38 years by Sarah Winchester. Every corner seems designed to confuse, and perhaps trap, the spirits she believed pursued her. Visitors report doors slamming without a breeze, footsteps echoing through empty rooms, and sudden cold spots in chambers that appear ordinary at first glance. Shadowy figures are glimpsed moving along stairways to nowhere, and whispers vanish the moment you try to follow them, as if the house itself resists discovery. Endless rooms, secret passageways, and architectural oddities preserve Sarah Winchester's obsession, creating a maze of fear and fascination. Moonlight filters through stained glass, casting strange shapes across the walls, while the faint scent of old wood hangs in the air. In San Jose, the past coils through the mansion's twists and turns, and somewhere in those shadows, another secret waits, daring you to find it. Alton, Illinois, haunted heart of the Midwest. Fog rolls off the Mississippi, curling through the streets of Alton as if carrying whispers from another century. Founded in 1818, the town's Victorian architecture, historic cemeteries, and dark river legends create a sense that the past never truly lets go. Walking along its cobblestone streets, visitors often feel unseen eyes following them, footsteps echoing where no one walks, and shadows shifting in old windows. Locals tell of the restless spirit of the Red Lady haunting quiet streets, shadowy figures appearing in old courthouses, and ghostly lights flickering along the riverfront. Doors swing open on their own. Cold drafts sweep through empty rooms, and some swear the town itself seems alive with the stories of lives long gone. Decaying mansions, cobblestone streets, and forgotten riverfront docks preserve Alton's secrets, each creaking floorboard a whisper from history. Fog drifts over the river at twilight, lanterns glow in empty windows, and somewhere in the darkness, the past watches quietly, ready to reveal its next secret to the brave who wander here. America's haunted towns aren't just frozen in time, they're alive with whispers, shadows, and stories that refuse to stay buried. From abandoned mansions to eerie streets, every corner carries a secret, daring the brave to step closer.